Bollocks. So the era of double damage Nightfall has ended. It was patched out yesterday, but I wanted to share some of the hijinks that took place before it was all over, as well as talking about some other relevant things. Anyway, that was crazy, right? I bet you've seen a bunch of videos featuring clips of people shredding bosses on Apocalypse and talking about some new synergy that they've mined for as much DPS as is humanly possible. I bet that they have a sequence at the firing range too, where they demonstrate all those big fancy numbers while they explain their build. Except there's a little problem here, because this build is this, a completely pure DPS build, and this build is this. I've listed the changes in all caps, but to better distinguish the differences, let's just lose all that other rubbish really quickly. As you can see, we've changed the amulet to the abrasive whetstone and to the rings here. Burden of the Destroyer was hampering our range because this is a long range fight, and the Ring of Flawed Beauty is great and all, but we really need Fair and Sigil for longer fights because we need the extra mod power generation to keep ourselves in the Nightmare realm. So, for a short burst of DPS at the firing range, when you can guarantee weak spot hits, the Ring of Flawed Beauty works like a charm. But in the field, we need to be a little bit more practical sometimes. Why am I even saying all this? It's no surprise that we respec our characters before every single boss fight. We can even respec our traits willy-nilly now that the Orb of Undoing has infinite uses. Anyway, someone asked me about the build in the last video I did, because I didn't include any information there, just a note that Nightfall was doing double damage, because that wasn't a proper build video, it was just an exploit video. However, it got me thinking that no matter what kind of video I'm doing, I should include all the build details in a simple format on a single card, so that you can pause it at that time for reference or screenshots or whatever. It seemed like a good quality of life feature, one that I've also wished some other videos would include instead of explaining everything over a longer time period. Not that explaining things out is bad, I like that too. It's just that sometimes I only want to meet so that I can go off and Google how to find all the items referenced and experiment for myself in game. But also, it addresses the loadout for each specific boss fight. The case-specific info is arguably more important than the equipment that you use on a regular basis. Knowing the behavior of a boss is far more important than DPS, and that is reflected in the loadout before entering each arena. And even though a build revolves around a specific synergy or combo, which will always be present, these other details are important for practicality. Okay, so let me just show you what this is going to look like. Let's take this back to the beginning of the fight with Annihilation. This is where I'll be including the cards. I'll explain it out a tiny bit just this once so that any newer players are up to speed, but for veterans it should be pretty self-explanatory. From the top you've got the archetypes, the amulet, rings, main weapon, meaning the weapon that we're using for most of our damage, so if the sidearm were relevant, I would include that as well. Then the relic shards, and any relevant consumables. Okay, so now that we're all on the same page, let's do it with another fight. So I promise I'm not going to be pausing videos all the time in the future, I just wanted to quickly illustrate a few more things that are really important. Kaeula's Shadow has no weak spot, so I traded out all the weak spot rings for critical chance and damage instead. Again, major differences in cards will be noted with all caps so that a quick screenshot will be able to discern which of the loadout items are out of the ordinary for the build. Also, I just wanted to note the bottom slot, which is for consumables. In some fights, these consumables play a vital part. So for example, I was trying to shred Kaeula's Shadow before she even made it underwater, and to do that, I needed to buff my rate of fire with rocket fuel, which has become my favorite consumable, and my character is now officially a needle junkie because he's using this stuff constantly. Okay, so now that we've gone over all the information about the card, we can get back to the Nightfall hijinks that have been taking place these days. Since the gun is totally busted for the time being, I have gone offline so that I can avoid any updates, and I've just been taking footage of melting bosses, which is pretty fun. I understand that this is all temporary, and it's not a good reflection of what a balanced Remnant 2 game looks like, but I don't really care. I love power, and that's one of the main reasons that I play these games, so I thought I would take a beat to shred all these bosses that have been giving me so much grief recently. That said, even with the advantage of Nightfall being so powerful at the moment, there was one boss that still proved difficult to best, and that was Venom. More and more, I'm beginning to consider Venom the most difficult fight in the game. Annihilation has some funky teleportation shenanigans, but once you've got a good understanding of the two move sets for the dragon and the glitch form, it's a much easier task. Venom, on the other hand, is much more up close and in your face. It's a personal fight. He's more mobile without performing as many huge area attacks as Annihilation. Also, probably the most important bit is that Venom has a very tricky weak spot. You can't access it from behind, and even when you have a good look at his chest, it's difficult to get in the pocket. This was the fight that started my character's addiction to rocket fuel, because I initially had a goal of bringing Venom down in under 30 seconds, and in order to do that, I needed to buff fire rate as much as possible for that initial look at Venom's weak spot, because you never get another chance like that for the remainder of the fight. Anyway, now my character is a certified crack addict and spends all of his scrap on rocket fuel every chance he gets. He's even been pawning his weapons off so that he could buy more rocket fuel. Actually, that's only happened once. But still, it's a problem. Alright, that about does it for Nightfall hijinks. I hope this new system answers the questions of what build I'm using, and I'll try to be as detailed as possible about it in all future videos. If this video is at all fun or helpful, please drop a like. Also, let me just give a huge thanks to all of the new subscribers too. I really appreciate all the support. We're a very young project, and it's extremely encouraging when I see new subscribers jump in. And if you have any thoughts, please leave a comment. This whole video came about from a user comment, and I realized I shouldn't be wondering what video I want to make next. I should be asking you all what you want to see next. What a concept. That's it for me. Keep farming, everyone.